Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday. It is 4 p.m. ET, and we are so thrilled that you have found us here on Crime Time on a Mighty Blaze. I'm your host, Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 15 going on 16 novels of suspense. My current book, as you know, is One Wrong Word, which is so casually displayed on the door behind me. My new book coming up next year is All This Could Be Yours, which comes out in September. And we will talk about that then, because today we are here to talk about one of my very favorite books of the year, you all, Pony Confidential. Do not miss this absolutely fabulous book by Christina Lynch, which just came out from Berkeley last week. It is already just selling like mad. So snap now when the show is over. Go grab Pony Confidential. It is so ingenious and so unique and so hilarious and so smart and so charming and heartbreaking and absolutely irresistible. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I've been laughing out loud. I mean, not just like chuckle, 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 but I mean, ha ha, throughout. It's amazingly funny. It's sort of Black Beauty. I mean, I'm telling everybody this. It's sort of Black Beauty meets Watership Down meets Nancy Drew if Nancy Drew was a pony. And there you have it. And if you're saying, oh, that can't be good, I know that's what you're saying, but it is sensationally wonderful and irresistible, and it will be your favorite book too. Christina, I am now gushing. Christina Lynch is joining us from California. I'm now completely over the edge gushing about this, but congratulations on this wonderful book.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really interesting that it's gotten this very positive response because it's a book that's the most personal of my novels. So it's very gratifying that people are really connecting with it. Thank you so much.
Oh, my complete pleasure. You have given me hours and hours of delight. Why is it personal? Talk to me about that.
I will. I'm going to apologize for the spinning. It's a community college Wi-Fi. So.
Let me just explain very, very quickly. Christina is at her office at the college where she teaches, and the Wi-Fi is iffy, and she is in Australia, California, and who knows where that is. So if she freezes, we have practiced this. If she freezes, just be patient, and she will come right back on. Okay, so
Christina. Right back. So personal, yes, it's very personal. I'm one of those people who seems to have inherited the horse gene, and you can't fight it. It just grabs you and takes hold of you. But I never had my own pony as a child. I really harassed my poor parents endlessly. I harassed them endlessly and never got the pony until I was an adult. Horse, of course. But yeah, so ever since I got out of, well, not too long after getting out of college, but I would say once I was an established professional adult, I've pretty much had horses the whole time. So, and not kind of fancy competing, just a lot of good backyard horse ownership. So.
Do you remember? I mean, I remember when I was growing up and we did have ponies and I loved them. We were talking earlier, my sister and I used to ride our ponies to the library to get books and then fill up the saddlebags with books. And when for birthdays and things, my parents would ask, do you want to have a gift now or a pony later? And I would always choose the pony later, always choose the pony later. What is it about, especially girls and ponies? Why did you want one?
I don't know. I mean, I think Sarah Maslin Neer has that great book, Horse Crazy, which really dives into, I don't know if you know that book, but it's wonderful, trying to answer that particular question. And I'm not sure. That's why I say it's a gene. It feels like it's not a choice. It's just in us. But I do think it speaks to the fact that in our society hierarchy, little girls are kind of at the bottom of the power structure. But if you're on a pony, that's adding, suddenly you're 500 pounds of animal. You're a centaur.
you're big and powerful and fast and tall, all those kinds of things.
And you can be even scary. I mean,
Yeah.
you think of a little girl on a pony, not so scary, but if that thing is barreling towards you, you can scare people.
Absolutely. So, did you read horse books when you were growing up?
Every horse book, every horse book. I moved a lot as a kid, and anytime I arrived at a new town or school, I would go straight. I had the Dewey Decimal System memorized, and I would go straight to the horse section and read every single book.
I remember reading, there's a series of books that had Copper Con and Golden Sovereign and Silver Birch, those horses. It's where I learned what a claiming race was. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff in those books. And we have so many people who read horse books as little girls have all that in common. It seems so glamorous and so wonderful and such a
Yeah, there's all the wonderful, the Marguerite Henry series, the Black Stallion series. There's My Friend Flicka, like, and they really stretch across the eras, right? Like they don't really go out of date because that love is so primal, I think, between girls and horses.
And that is what Pony Confidential is absolutely about, that primal love between girls and horses, even if the pony doesn't figure that out right away, that's part of the journey, which we love so much. Quickly, we'll talk about with Christina Lynch in 2 more seconds, but let me welcome you all to Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. I see so many of you here today. Fantastic. Renee and Denise and Deborah Press. Sylvia says Misty of Chincoteague. Absolutely so. And Renee and Shannon Hansen. So welcome. A Mighty Blaze was started at the beginning of the pandemic by the fabulous powerhouse team of Jenna Blunt and Caroline Levitt to keep us discovering new books and keep our reading and writing community together during the pandemic. We are still going strong, bringing you essentially book TV whenever you like. As I said, I'm your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, and today we have Christina Lynch coming from California. Their brand new blockbuster, Pony Confidential. Let me read you Christina's formal bio, just so you know. Christina Lynch is at the beck and call of 2 dogs, 3 horses, and a hilarious pony who carts her up and down the mountains while demanding and receiving many carrots. Besides Pony Confidential, she is also the author of 2 historical novels set in Italy and the co-author of 2 comic thrillers set in Prague and Vienna. She teaches at the College of the Sequoias and lives in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada. One reason that the Wi-Fi is a little bit iffy, but we, like Pony, will persevere. Let me ask you, I am trying to imagine when you talk to your agent or editor and said, so I have this idea. What did you possibly say?
So what the original conversation was on a rooftop in New York City, of all places. She said, "What's your next project?" And I said, "Well, I do want to write another book for you, but I'm thinking I want to write one of those Christmas movies. It's that time of year, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm tuning in to watch all the Christmas movies." And I said, "I want to write one called Christmas Pony." And she looked at me and said, "You're writing that as a book."
So Christmas Pony sounds sort of hallmarky, like a little girl who wants a pony for Christmas. And
that's what she thought.
Yeah, I totally get that. And you say Christmas Pony, I can see that entire movie, but that's not what you had in mind.
No.
So keep going.
No. So when I delivered, so I was also teaching World Lit here at the college, World Literature, and the Odyssey I put into the syllabus. And it's just the most wonderful, and I am talking about the epic Greek poem. And it's a really interesting the way it's structured, and the students and I were so kind of gobsmacked by how much we loved it. This 3,000-year-old poem, and seemingly culturally we have nothing in common.
And of course, the Odyssey, this epic poem, is a journey of discovery and
Yeah.
return, and all of that. And it is, it's interesting because it is such a soldier's story and such a
Yeah.
human story about regaining love and regaining home and understanding their world and their position in the world. But again, Christina, pony confidence.
I know. I know. But somehow these two ideas merged in my head because I had this idea of the pony that is trying to find the one little girl he really loved after decades. And then I was teaching this story of a soldier trying to get home and all of the things that waylay him along the way. And I thought, wait a second.
No, but take me there, because you're thinking I could make Pony be, Odysseus on this journey, and wow, that would work. I mean, that is not
Well, I
what.
thought it might work, right? And also the pony's attitude, of course, crucial, right? Like you said, the agent was probably thinking it was going to be a children's book, something really sweet and lovely. But ponies, as one of our viewers said, like ponies have a lot of attitude.
They do have a lot of attitude, and this pony is completely snarky and
Yeah.
completely wise and a little bit manipulative and understands human. Margaret in the back room is saying, is the
Yeah.
girl named Penelope? Yes, indeed. The girl is named. Come on.
Yes.
What are you talking to here? So tell us more about that, how this developed.
Yeah. So the pandemic hit right around the time that I was starting the project.
And so in 2018, she says in her.
So right at the beginning of 2020, I was kind of finding my way into the story and spending all of my time with my large pony, Flora. So ponies can be up to 14 two hands, which is 58 inches. And Flora is about 56 inches. So she's technically a pony, and she's half Welsh pony. And she was my pandemic pal. So I did everything with her. And the more time I spent with her, I mean, she lives in the backyard already, so we have a lot of quality time together. But the more time that I spent riding her and being with her, she just made me laugh. But like the attitude it's serious. Like she makes a lot of the decisions, and I just have to go along.
I mean, it is interesting. You say in your opening letter that horses are beautiful, but kind of dumb, and they'll sort of go along with everything. But ponies, they have desire and they have passion, and they know how to go after what they want and get what they want. And Pony, who is the main character, one of the two main characters of the story, is. And you have to just understand that this really works from the point of view. One of the sections, one of the 2 points of view, is from the point of view of Pony, and I just am in awe of how, Christina, you mind melded with Pony, because it isn't a human writing from the standpoint of a pony. This is total poniness. So can you talk about how you did that? Pony as detective, that just can't work, and yet it does.
Yeah, and somehow it works. And I think, Hank, it speaks to the universality of emotions, right? So yes, he's a pony. Do I anthropomorphize him? Of course. But I do think that when you really live with animals, you know that they have emotions. How could Descartes have said animals are machines that don't have emotions? Like, obviously, the man did not even have a cat, right? So the idea that, people try to say ponies don't, horses, pets, dogs don't really have the full range of emotions. Maybe they don't, but they sure act like it.
Yeah, they do act like it. And I do think we all know, and I'm sure that so many people here on Crime Time have a cat, have a dog, have some sort of a creature, not like a fish, but even fish, but a cat
Sure.
or a dog or a pony, and that you know when they're sad and you know when they want something and you know when they, my cat used to bring me little gifts every night, and that was purposeful.
Yes.
But you have given what we see in Pony's point of view. We see the world through Pony's eyes and brain and understanding and emotion. And each animal, each creature, from a sparrow to a mosquito to a rat to a goat, has a personality and has their own intention and agency and skills. How did you? Here's an easy question. How did you do that? How do you, and then also not only that, but like the template of the Odyssey as well.
I think it's slowing down. I mean, the Odyssey existed to help me when I was stuck, right? I wasn't setting out to match them up. I would just write from the pony's point of view and see, like, I would write from the pony's point of view. And if I got stuck and I thought, I wonder what should happen next, I would look at the Odyssey only, or just even think about it. Just think about, oh, well, what did the different sections of the Odyssey function as? What were the emotions that were produced, by his time on the island with Calypso, by his time with the witch Circe? So it was that kind of inspiration. But how did I get those characterizations right? I think I wasn't writing on a real deadline. I was really, really writing to entertain myself in that moment and to make myself laugh. I was lonely, like so many of us during the pandemic. I was really lonely, and I was telling myself a story to just keep my spirits up.
Well, as I have said, and will continue to say, I laughed out loud throughout. It is so clever. But let's go back. And I realize that I want to make sure that our wonderful audience understands what the basic story is.
Right. Yeah, because it's weird. It's very strange. So it is pretty simple. It's a story told from two points of view. And one is a woman named Penny, who is living a very normal life in California. She's married, she has a daughter, and when we meet her, she is out of the blue arrested for a murder that happened 25 years before our story begins. So that's page one. And at the same time, the other point of view is of this rather nasty little rather nasty little pony who is trying to find her to get revenge because she sold him, and his story is told on a slightly different chronology. So her story takes place over about 8 months, and the pony's takes place over about 15 years. So he hasn't seen her in 10 years, and he's going to, his story obviously moves a little faster to bring the two stories together, but he is looking for her to get revenge.
And as the story evolves, though, he begins to realize that she's in trouble and that he needs to is revenge not what he wants, but he needs to help her and find her. So when you realized that what you were writing was actually a murder mystery, did that come later or did that come right away?
Yeah, so I finished the first draft, and it was really just a novella at that point, and it was only the pony's point of view. So it was just the pony, and in the last chapter, he found Penny, and done. And I delivered it to my agent, and she said, huh.
What is this, right?
Much darker than I thought it was going to be.
Where's the Christmas tree?
This is not for children. And not that, it was just that it explored the darker side of how we treat animals. And a lot of things happened to this pony along the way before he did eventually find Penny. And it actually floated around for about 2.5 years without finding a buyer. And I didn't ever think it was really.
Oh, suspense.
I didn't think it was really ever going to find a buyer because it was such a personal story to me and written really to make myself laugh, that I thought, oh, I'm not worried. I'm just going to self-publish it and give it to friends for Christmas. And then she said, just give me a little bit more time. And she found my wonderful editor at Berkeley who said, I must have this story, but it needs to be a murder mystery.
Wow. I mean, that is life-changing, isn't it? Because you had a perfectly good thing, which you perfectly loved and which served its purpose. But someone else who read it sort of mind melded with your book and had this idea, not that he or she had to actually do it because you had to do it, saying, can you make this into a murder mystery? So tell me how you felt about that at that point, and how you created, took this little flight of lovely.
Yeah, it was 140 pages.
Yeah, and made
that
it
was
into this tour de force of a dual project.
It was a bit, it took a little and I'm a big index card user, so keeping the index card industry alive right here. So I did a lot of that. I used to be a television writer, so I'm familiar with like the big whiteboard and you map things out, and sometimes you can get all the way to the end and a story doesn't work. So you have to, you back up. So I'm good with structure. Turn this phone off. I'm good with structure, and so I tried different things, but I had to actually write 5 different versions of it. I'm not sure if you heard that. I had to actually write 5 different versions.
And what were the differences? Wow, what were the differences in the versions? Did it have to do with structure and alternate points of view? Did it have to do with who got the most airtime? Did it have to do with the actual story and lead up of the murder? Did it have to do with Penny's life or Pony's journey?
Yeah, so the different versions were about kind of how to bring Penny into the story. When did the crime happen? Did it happen in the past? Did it happen in the present? At what point in the story were there 2 stories going to intersect? So that the field was kind of wide open for how to do it. And it's so funny, like when it finally clicked.
When it finally clicked,
When it finally clicks, you look back at it and say, but like, wasn't it obvious? Like, oh, I'm so dumb that I didn't just write this the first time. But you kind of have to try all the different things. So there was a version that took place entirely in California that involved show chickens, right? Like people who take chickens to shows and win blue ribbons. There was like, it had all kinds of different permutations. And we would, sort of laugh, and the editor would say, I think it's really close. And I'd say, no, it's not. I have to start over.
So how long a process did that take?
It was just under a year. So it was about 11 months from when they said, yes, we want it, but about 11 months to the draft where we all said, yeah, this is it.
I mean, so just so you know, we're talking about Pony Confidential, the brand new book by Christina Lynch, which is Pony, who goes from revenge to searching to being a detective that solves a crime. And if you think that cannot work, yes, it can. It can totally work, and you will absolutely embrace it. But
I think that, by the way, as you said that, it reminded me that part of it was I loved the challenge of it. I've written other novels. I've written a lot of TV episodes, and it's that kind of crazy, like, can you write a murder mystery with the pony as the detective? Like, doesn't have opposable thumbs, right?
Well, when I told my husband about it, I was raving to my husband about it, and he said, "Well, how does Pony communicate with people?" And I thought, isn't that? I mean, this is this suspension of disbelief question that we always talk about.
Yeah.
And you face that dead on. Someone asks him
Yes.
that, and he says, "Well, I just have a way of making people think that they thought of it themselves."
Yeah.
So,
And if you have a pet, you totally understand that plot device, right? Where the animal looks at you and focuses on you and manipulates you to do what they want. And that's it. Some people have said, well, it's about a talking pony. No, not exactly.
well, the pony doesn't really talk except
No,
to other animals.
to other
And,
animals.
and
Yeah.
that's another thing that's so interesting about this. So you have created rules for
Yeah.
your universes.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how those work and how they intersect or not?
Absolutely. So I think anybody who is working outside of realism in fiction, um,
It's all about world building.
yeah, it's all world building. And the first step is to create the rules of the world. So I had to really think about that. What are the rules of the world that I'm creating here? And how closely should it intersect with our reality? And I did really look to the Odyssey for that as well, because he is very much in, a somewhat realistic landscape, and he himself is human and mortal and has to travel over the ocean on boats and things. But then, the Odyssey brings in the gods as the form of magic that impacts it. And I didn't, obviously was not, or not obviously, but I chose not to go down that route.
Yeah.
So I had to just come up with rules that allowed him to move through the landscape.
Yes, rules that allowed him to move through the landscape and have it be sort of possible
Yeah.
based on the rules that you've set up. And also that Pony World and Penny World are the same world, but it's
Yeah.
just such a tour de force in point of view, in that the animals look at what the humans do with their depth of understanding of how they view things, like how they
Yes.
can't believe that humans seem to value green pieces of paper and little pieces of plastic, and what is that? And also how humans deal with animals. And that is such a powerful element of your story as well. Pony is disgusted that humans sell ponies.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the things. Talk a little bit about how you were able to put your love for animals and creatures in this book.
I think it was about like living with them for most of my life. There was a time when I was a child and I didn't have animals, and I really, really, really missed them. Um, I think it's about studying them and setting aside your own, like we always put ourselves first, right? Like, what can the dog do for me instead of what can I do for the dog? Which sounds odd, I know, but if you step back and you think about, well, what would my dog really like to do today, right? And it's not always a convenient thing, and I'm not advocating that everybody needs to live their life that way, but it does create a really interesting bond, I think, and an interesting approach to pet ownership.
I mean, you show, for instance, how sad it is for a pet to live alone, or to be caged, or not to have any friends, or not to have anyone to deal with, or not to have companionship, or how when animals are kept in an artificial situation, there's this really horrific, I don't want to say horrific, but really sad chapter where Pony lives inside a house with a weird lady, and she says, "You're an inside pony now," and that, it's awful, and it's heartbreaking. Or when he's on in an enclosure with a goat, and another dog, and a goat and a dog, and that how they team up and learn about each other. Did you ever? I mean, It's a sad too, isn't it?
It's sad, but I do want to say I'm not condemning those things. And in the like the chapter, the first one you're talking about he when he's an indoor pony for Mrs. Calypso, um, he's very perceptive. You know, he's kind of his attitude is I want to get out of here. But at the same time, he's really recognizing in her that she's really lonely too, and he's lonely. And so he is very perceptive, and that the book is not. It is at times a little satirical of our society and the choices that we make, but it's not mean. Like, even though ponies are mean, he's incredibly perceptive. At least I hope so, about the humans that he's with. So
You know,
he's
it's very gentle. I mean, it's very gentle and thought provoking about that. I don't think we're talking about Pony Confidential, you all, by Christina Lynch. I don't think people who read this will ever look at animals the same way.
oh, I think that's
It'd be
great.
impossible to. What do you think about that?
Wow. I hope that's true. I hope that's true because they offer us so much. And if you don't see them in their complexity, right? If you're denying that they have emotions and they have feelings and that they do want to connect with you, and that they're funny and manipulative, you know, that they're complete and complex, then I think you're missing out on so much in life, right?
And little do they know, little do we know. I mean, what you again, we were talking about that this is sort of an epic journey like the Odyssey, but sprinkled throughout are references to things about animals that we know. And there is a reference to Lassie that made me realize, oh, the dog could watch Lassie on TV as well, or the movie, and understand it and think it's real. And what would they feel about that?
Yeah.
You formerly worked for the Harvard Lampoon you were on the Lampoon.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? And do you think about those days when you think about humor?
Yes, I do. That was great training. I was on the Lampoon with some of the people who are, you know, some of our most brilliant humorists today. So it will not surprise you that I thought, like, well, I'm not really that funny.
Well, you are really that funny.
But I was, you know, Conan O'Brien is a good friend of mine from those days. And he was, you know, just what I thought then, like just another funny guy. But boy, he was so funny. And now, of course, we know like he's very, very funny. So it's Greg Daniels, who created, you know, the American version of The Office. So these were the people that I was kind of hanging out with there and feeling not very funny in comparison. And I think that was just also lack of confidence in that moment in my life. But those were amazing times to just develop comic muscles and see all the ways that you can be funny. You know, you can be sweet funny, you can be nasty funny, you can be satirical, you can root comedy in so many different ways. Comedy is transgressive, right? I took a great class in college about comedy in the novel and all the ways in which comedy, you know, holds a mirror up to society that isn't always flattering. So
But you do it again, you do it so gently. And this is such a tightrope. This is such a tightrope that you walked because you know, you think, oh, it's a pony who solves a mystery that's cozy. And it's not violent, but it is not, I don't see this as cozy. I see this as a hilariously heartbreaking and heartwarming, incredible tour de force, and a marvelous use of point of view, and really a unique creation that everybody should read. When you got the and the horseshoe with the Sherlock hat is pretty.
I know they did such a great job with that cover. They really. Berkeley's been amazing start to finish. They're really an incredible group of people.
Even the font is hilarious. How did you feel when you opened? How did you feel when you opened the box of books? And what are you thinking now, a week in, when you've just been showered with acclaim for this?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry on air. That was a well-timed spinning wheel.
Oh, gave
Uh,
you.
it's very emotional for me. It's actually, I will admit it. It's very emotional. It's such a personal book, and the way that people, I'm surprised, like how it's as if I like opened the top of my head and showed you everything that's inside, and you said, "Wow, that's great," instead of ah.
No, I'm definitely in the wow, that's great team. And I know all of our crime timers are too. And all of your happy readers feel the same way. The buzz about this is absolutely amazing. You all do not miss it. And we will spin the wheel of fun in about 5 minutes to let one of you have the joy of winning this novel. But first, Margaret, let's see if anyone has any questions for the fabulous Christina or for Pony. So Sylvia, hi Sylvia, with 5 different versions, are there remnants and scraps
Good.
left over?
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, maybe. Um, but probably not. I think when things don't work, they don't work for a reason. Characters, maybe. They're the guy who showed the chickens. The man that I created who was so passionate about his chickens. He comes back, occasionally into my mind, and I think I'm going to put him into another book.
Chicken Man. Okay. Chicken Man's going to get his book. I like that. There'll be a lot of dialogue in that, right? All the chickens. Denise says, hysterical title. Did you pick it?
So it was called Christmas Pony for a long time, and my agent suggested, like, maybe we should retitle it because it is sounding sweeter than it is. And I was with a bunch of writers when I got that email on a windswept island off the Atlantic coast.
Oh, this is the suspense part.
And my friend Anna Covell, she said, I know what you should call it, Pony Confidential. And I went, yes.
Yeah. Like a pulp mystery. I really love that.
I think she was reading Kitchen Confidential at the time. So she said, what about Pony Confidential?
Oh, that's great. That's great. That is perfect. Who else has a question? What was your favorite horse?
Oh, so that's a tough one. So King of the Wind, the Marguerite Henry, is one of them. Of course, Misty, but Billy and Blaze.
Oh, I don't
They're
know.
really short. They're very, very short, kind of learn to read books, but they're written and illustrated by C.W. Anderson.
Oh,
a phenomenal horse artist. So there's a series of about 8 books about a little boy named Billy and his pony Blaze. And my pony Flora that I ride looks just like Blaze. So that's one of my favorites. It's the idea of in nature, the idea of a kid out in nature without the parent, like just out without parents, just the child and the pony out having adventures in nature. I think that really grabbed me.
and this makes it seem like everything is possible and the world is bigger, but if you have your pony, you're always going to be
pony. You have your best friend, your protector, the brains of the operation, as my pony likes to think of herself. Yeah.
Can your pony open latches?
Yes, of course she can. And now I have Bill the pony, who's the retired show pony. And he really, like, you have to be very careful with the latches.
It's such a good thing in the book that I can open that. Don't worry about that. I can open that.
He's a locksmith.
Who else has a question, Margaret? I'm so curious about the cover, says Margaret. How did that come together? Were there iterations of this before this?
Yeah, they're just about one or two other, just about like maybe one or two versions. We talked about, should we see the pony? Should we not see the pony? It was always going to be a drawing. I think we all liked the echo of the like LA Confidential, like the 40s mystery style. So yeah, it was pretty close to this, but I can take no credit. That is all the wonderful people at Berkeley.
Yeah, it's really great and really evocative, and shows that the book is a little snarky and a little fun and a little out there, and you're not quite sure what
It's
you're
hard
going
to
to get.
convey. Like I couldn't wait to see what they were going to come up with,
Yeah.
because it's a tough book to convey. It's a book. It's the first and only, as far as I know, book for adults with a pony narrator.
And there you have it, now and for all time. The first for adults, a book with a pony, book,
I'm so
adult
glad I could break
adult book.
that ceiling, right?
You know,
What a glass ceiling to break.
we all have our triumphs. We all have our triumphs, and this one is definitely yours, Christina Lynch. Are you working on another book, or is there even one?
Yes. Yes, I can't say too much about it, but I will say it is another mystery from an unusual point of view.
Well, we cannot wait, and we hope you come back to Crime Time the very moment that book is ready. And you're going to send that right to me before you send it to anyone else, because I'm just a massive, massive fan. You are creative and hilarious and
Oh,
beautiful, and this is just a
you.
life-changing book in every way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Shall we spin the wheel of fun, you all, and let's see what lucky winner gets to have Pony Confidential in their own little stables. And the winner is the suspense. Brenda Gaskell. That's great. Wonderful, Brenda. We are so pleased that you won Pony Confidential. The rest of you, you know what to do if you are not Brenda Gaskell. Run, 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 click, click, click. Do not let this book go by. It is charming and funny and sweet and innovative and immersive. And I promise you, you will absolutely love it. It is an absolute tour de force of point of view. Pony Confidential by Christina Lynch. Christina, thank you for being with us today.
I'm so delighted. So delighted. I'm such a fan of you and the whole idea and bringing readers together. It's just, isn't it the best? Isn't it the best thing to share books with people?
I know this is such a fun job that I have doing this. I am asked, can you read a book or two every week and interview the author? Well, yes, I can. I totally can. And speaking of which, next week at 4 p.m. ET, next Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET, J.T. Ellison's new book, A Very Bad Thing, which is a very good thing. I asked J.T. whether people had said that before, that it's not a bad thing. The book is a good thing. And she says, once or twice, somebody's said that. So, but that's what you get for naming your book A Very Bad Thing. I cannot wait for you to hear all about this book next week at 4 p.m. ET. Christina, tell everybody, tell the gang, tell your animals we said hi.
I will.
And I
hope everybody goes home and, hugs their pet.